Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I thought I'd give you a bit of an update. It's been 4 months now since I started racing online with PC, having migrated from the Xbox console, and I've decided to quit. No, not really. I just wanted to let you know what my experience was so far after a few months and what some of the things are involved with migrating from a console over to a PC if you want to start sim racing there for a little bit more involvement. So the first big point is, can you migrate your progress from console to PC? Short answer, no. So all that work that you've done, whether it be on Dirt 2, Assetto Corsa Competizione, any of the platforms, you cannot take those ratings through. You go to PC, you're basically starting from the beginning. But as you'll see, the sim platforms in PC do drive a little bit different to how they would on a console anyway. So it's probably not relevant or relative either. Now, sim racing on a PC, the main key points. Yes, it's more expensive because you've got to buy different equipment. It's great fun. It's more involving. It's addictive, and it can also be quite frustrating. But to be honest, there are other hobbies like that, but most of those are illegal. So how do you start? I started on an Xbox with a Logitech wheel and a play seat, and it all happened over COVID because nothing else to do, couldn't go out, all on lockdown, even here in Dubai, which everyone stuck to. And a friend of mine and I, we both had an Xbox, and we decided to start racing online. It was a great way of communicating. We could talk to each other on headphones all the time, so it was like talking on the phone for free, and race each other and have a little bit of fun. But that over a period of time, obviously we all get back to work, but you still want that buzz of racing. Now the problem is with console racing is the public lobbies where you go to race are not very well populated. So I took the decision a few months ago to move up to PC because I was getting more and more into it. So what sort of PC do you look for? Basically, spend as much money as you can is the trick. I've gone mid-range. Don't necessarily go for a full-on gaming computer that's going to cost you $5,000 or $6,000. You don't need to do that. You could pick one up for as low as $2,000, maybe even $1,500. The main key points to look for: get as high RAM as you can, get a large hard drive because you're going to need it for whatever games you're going to be using, and the graphics card. That is the biggest thing. Get the best graphics card you can. I'm running a 4060. I know you can run a 3080 and still be okay, but 4060 absolutely fine. And the difference in graphics between the PC and the console is head and shoulders different. Then screens. Now, to be honest, you don't really need triple screens. I've seen people race with them online. I'm running a single screen, and it's absolutely fine. It can be a bit difficult sometimes if you haven't set up the view inside a car that you're racing with your mirrors, but if you've got proximity sensors, that's okay. But there is something I'll come to later which might help you out on that. Then comes the cockpit, the bit that you sit on and the bit that the steering wheel bolts onto as well. Now, I started with a play seat. The play seat was okay, but there was a lot of flex in it. It wasn't particularly comfortable, and the way it's set with the center column going in between your feet, it was a little bit uncomfortable. So again, I decided to upgrade to a next level GT track seat, which I'm in at the moment. Massively different. Took seconds off some of my lap times just because now I can modulate braking correctly, and pretty reasonably priced as well. Have a look online, you'll be able to find them. You don't even need to go for this one. There's one below it which I think is about $300 or $400, which is just as good. It's just not as good a seat. I just preferred this because I know I was going to be spending some more time in it. But again, spend as much as you can, but you can start with a play seat and get one of those for a couple $100 quite easily, or even pick them up on a second-hand market. Next we come to the important bit, the wheel and pedals. Now, there's lots of trains of thought on this. You can spend a fortune on wheels and pedals alone for that matter. I've been running, when I first started, I was running a Logitech. I outgrew it very quickly, is the honest answer, when I was running it on Xbox, and I think I changed it within 3 months because I found a Thrustmaster TSXW from a local supplier, quite cheap, and it was too good to pass up. My friend actually did the same thing. We both got them with the standard pedals, and they were great. I've since upgraded the pedals twice, and I'm now running the Thrustmaster load cell pedals. Again, a little bit more expensive. I think they're about $200 or $300, but worth it. For the braking feel that you get, it's worth it over a standard set of pedals. So again, spend as much as you can afford. Now, yes, we'd all love to have a Fanatec or Simicube or Moser, whichever system like that, and Heusinkveld pedals or whatever. But then you start to look at big money, and you don't need to spend big money to start, unless you're going to be in the top 2 on every race, and even in some of the competition races that they run. There isn't really any point unless you're seriously going to get into it. If it's just for a hobby, spend as much as you can afford that you're comfortable with and that works for you. But in the same vein, don't go too cheap. If you buy the Logitech and you're really into it, you're going to outgrow it quickly, and you're going to end up spending more money. So I think Dave Cam, one of the guys, did a video about how much money he'd wasted on sim equipment, which if he'd known then what he knows now, he would have saved a lot of money. Onto the platforms. So what do we drive on, or what games are we using? I hate to call them games because some of them are certainly a little bit more than that. They're more of a sim. Now on the Xbox, I was running Assetto Corsa Competizione, Dirt 2, and Project Cars 2, just because that was the first one we found and it was quite cheap. And they're great fun. On a console, they are good fun, but when you drive those same platforms with a PC, they're very, very different. The feel is different, the immersion is different, and you're a lot more into it, and you can do a lot more with it. Currently, I've got loaded up Assetto Corsa Competizione, Dirt 2, which is about to be not replaced, but there is a new rally platform coming out, WRC, in November, which is supposed to be a continuation of that, which I'll come to in a minute. And I've got R Factor 2. Assetto Corsa is great fun. There's nothing on online lobbies really that you can race against other people. You can race against your friends if you're both online at the same time. The tyre models are really good. The physics are really good. The choice of cars is not bad. But if you go on to something like Race Department, then you can add more cars onto there and more tracks as well, which you can then get a bit more enjoyment out of it. Assetto Corsa Competizione, primarily GT3, GT4, Porsche Cup, and now they've got the M2 Cup cars on there as well. Again, online lobbies on Xbox, pretty much empty. No one was ever there. PC, there's loads of people that you can find. And you will use some of the Discords or platforms like LFM, Low Fuel Motorsport, to go and find races, get yourself into some leagues and see how you can then improve and start racing. Now, I will say, LFM, it's great. Forget about ELO rating, because unless you're starting in 20th and finishing in 3rd, it's not going to go up. Try and avoid hitting people, because if you do, they will then report you, and there's no point fighting it because they just seem to find their own rules. I had an incident last week. I touched a guy going into a corner, he went wide. I started to go onto his inside, and then he came across on me. I backed out of it, and he had a half spin. He didn't even go off fully off track, and he didn't spin round. I did get past him. Immediately after the corner, I pulled over and let him back past, because that's the way I am, and that's the way we do things. He reported me to the stewards, and I got a safety rating fine for it and a 10-second penalty for that race. So it's got its shortfalls, but if you're good, then fine, go with it. But it's a great place to start and meet other people to then get into other races. Dirt 2, probably the biggest difference. Dirt 2 between console and PC is massively different. Now, it's long been criticised, but it's probably the wrong word, of the tyre model and the handling on Dirt 2, particularly on tarmac, that it's not realistic. It's not really, well, it is and it's not. There's certain things that it does very well, and there's certain things that it doesn't. The trick is you learn to drive the car and drive around it. Having tried it now on the PC, it's a completely different platform. It's a different game, if you like, and a lot more difficult to drive. So I'm actually looking forward to the new one coming as well, but I'm looking forward to mastering this a little bit more, and there'll be some more videos of Dirt 2 coming up very soon. I love rallying. I love all forms of motorsport, to be honest, but it's definitely one to have. R Factor 2. Now, R Factor 2, I've got a love-hate relationship with. The tyre physics and the way it drives, very good. You can feel what the car's doing, even with the Thrustmaster. As I say, I don't need a direct drive at the moment. The handling of the cars is very good. You can feel what it's doing. The racing against the AI is very good. It's close and it's realistic. And it's got a couple of pluses that you can get things on there like British touring cars. The British Touring Car Championship is arguably one of the best championships in the world, maybe in line with the 8 supercars down in Australia. And the racing, certainly against the AI, is great fun. I haven't raced it online yet on LFM because I've been trying to keep my safety rating up, and I can see that's going to be a bit of a nightmare. But it's great fun. However, it's got some bugs, shall we say, where out of nowhere you'll lose all force feedback. Or if you've restarted a race, you have no force feedback at the beginning and you can't get it back, even if you set a force feedback reset button, which I've done. And I have done that, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But R Factor 2, it's great. It's very frustrating sometimes, but when it works, it's brilliant. Another one to try is Automobilista 2. I haven't actually downloaded that one yet, but all the reports I see on it, people love the way it drives. They love the way handling is on the vehicles and how you get the feedback through as well. So that's another one that I'll try at some point. So once you've got all your platforms, there's a few add-ons you can get, a lot of them from Race Department, as we talked about with the cars on Assetto Corsa. But there's another add-on you can get, which is brilliant, where you can have a spotter and pit crew chief, and it's called Crew Chief version 4 or V4. Have a look for it. It's quite good fun. You can play about with it. He could even be set to be sweary and tell you to get a move on, and you're a bit crap, aren't you? It's quite funny. But if you're using something like R Factor 2, where it doesn't have a proximity sensor on there, it can be used then to have the spotter so you can see where someone's next to you. Very, very important in British touring cars. BeamNG, forget it. It's a waste of time. I see all these videos of people crashing cars into trees and seeing what the survival rate is. I downloaded it, and I don't say I wish I hadn't. It's just dull, is the honest answer. If you're into sim racing, you won't be interested in that. Don't bother. Now, I suppose the most important question is, where do you get these games? Go to Steam. Best place to get them. It's easy. They're all in the same place. Moving on to streaming. So what do you need to stream? Simple. You need a camera, you need a mic, and you need the software to be able to put the video together and then put it up onto YouTube. So the camera, I'm using a Logitech at the moment. I can't remember what number it is, but it's 922 or something like that. And it works pretty well. I'm still trying to work the settings out. So if you're looking at this and it's grainy, it's not the camera's fault, it's mine. Microphones. These little Rode wireless microphones are great. Easy to recharge, easy to clip on and off, easy to work, even I can do it. Get your settings right on the first test, and then after that it's plug and play. Really, really good. Definitely recommend them. So the software for the videos, I use OBD Studio. That's what I put my scene together with, if you like, where I've got my picture in one corner up here somewhere, and I've got the race going on the main screen and any other little bits and pieces I want. Really easy to use, quite easy to set up. You can set up different scenes at a click of a button, so you can have just me like this now, just the racing, or both combined. So it's quite easy to use, really, really good value for money. Can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't massively expensive. Then after you've done that, you'll need to edit the video before you upload it onto YouTube. Now that was the bit I was always scared of, but I had a good look through lots of different software suites, and Movavi video editor is idiot proof. If I can use it, anyone can. Now, you might just be thinking to yourself, I don't want to take your word for it, Coxie. You might not know what you're talking about. Well, go and have a look at some of the other people who stream online. You probably have already. And that's how I started. I was watching other people on YouTube, watching what they were streaming and trying to get ideas of what I could do. Rory Alexander, great to watch. Predominantly sticks with Gran Turismo, which I'm not a massive fan of, to be honest, just because it still looks like an arcade game. I know it's not, but it looks like one to me. He does do Assetto Corsa Competizione now and again, but he seems to get a bit frustrated with it. I think it's more with the people who are driving, but he's definitely worth a watch. Very consistent driver, super nice guy, lots of followers as well. Then you've got Dave Cam. Dave Cam's an older guy. I'm not going to insult him too much in case he ever watches this. Like myself, who's sim racing. I believe he comes from a racing background, and he does most of his stuff on iRacing. He's quite funny. He's got a great setup as well. He talks at people through his changes when he does change wheel or change system or change screens. Very, very good fun to watch, and a very good racer as well. Very, very consistent. Basic Ollie again, he's mainly iRacing. He's only recently gone into full-time streaming. Great fun to watch, particularly if someone upsets him, because he does get a little bit sweary, which is quite funny. But again, great racer, really, really good fun to watch. Jardier. Now Jardier has been streaming and racing professionally as a sim racer for a number of years now. Extremely consistent, very, very good, very personable to watch, and he's not scared of sharing information. So a lot of these sim racers, they won't tell you their setups. Jardier will tell you some setups and he'll help you, and he puts them on his website, he puts them up on his streams, because he wants people to race as well, and he's confident enough in his own abilities that he doesn't care if you've got a good setup, because I think he knows he's still going to beat you. But very, very good to watch. Go and follow him. Brilliant. Then there's the Marmite one, Jimmy Broadbent. Jimmy Broadbent I do watch from time to time. Good sim racer, has started racing real cars as well. He's quite funny to watch. He's in my demographic of what our target audience are is a little bit different, and hence I find him a bit like an animated children's TV presenter. You might find him very funny. Sorry, Jim, if you're watching that. I'm just being honest, but I'm a lot older than you. He's very funny to watch. He will do absolutely anything. He does Dirt 2, he does Assetto Corsa Competizione, Automobilista, the whole lot. But one thing he does need to do, Jim, you need to change your hair. We're not in the 90s anymore. Sorry, Jim, didn't mean it really. So they're the people to follow. But ask people that you know who are sim racing as well. You must have some friends that are sim racing, so you can ask them for advice. It's always a good idea. I must admit, I bent the ear of a number of people. Rames, Chris Sockling, Paul Stanley, all sim racers. Rames and Chris are pretty much professional. They're professional racing drivers. They're also professional sim racers as well. Paul was a racing driver. He's not gone as far into sim racing because he's got a real job. But again, he gave me a lot of advice. I couldn't have done it without a mate of mine, PJ, who's supported me on trying to help me understand what a PC does, because I don't. And he also donated my microphones and my e-brake as well, which was my Christmas, my 50th birthday present to me. So thank you very much for that, PJ. And couldn't really go without thanking my girlfriend Lynn, because she's good enough to let me come up here and sit in the sim room for a few hours and race online. But I think her view is, well, at least I'm not down the pub. So in closing, the biggest things that were a bugbear, if you like, in changing from console to PC, you cannot migrate your history from console to PC. That's the biggest problem. So you've probably got yourself to a certain level now on your console. Forget all that, start again. Cost wise, what you're looking at cost wise. It's as little or as much as you want to spend, depending on whether you go for new equipment, medium equipment, new, used equipment. It's up to you. You could probably set yourself up for a couple of $1,000s. You could get a good system set up for maybe $4,000 to $5,000. You can spend tens of thousands, and I know people who have. So limit your budget. Make sure you've got a budget. Stick to your budget. Most of all, enjoy it. Sim racing is great fun. As I said, it's frustrating, but it's great fun. You get to meet new people. It's a good hobby to have other than going down the pub. And yeah, not much more else I can say, to be honest. So happy racing, everybody, and I'll see you on the tracks. Make sure you like and subscribe.